Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noah's in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's word to be edifying. It says UK Prime Minister advances digital ID initiative to tackle illegal immigration. And this come in tandem. Trump was basically wish to prove that the UN, they're all divided. NATO and the EU, America, they're all divided. Going back into the scripture in Daniel, the second chapter, about the 10 toes. I think it's 2 and 42, if I'm not mistaken. How the kingdoms were partly divided and they were partly weak and partly strong. We're seeing a division among the EU nations and NATO because, the way that they're spearheading geopolitics and governmental affairs. They're divided on who should run foreign policy or not. And, with half of them backing Israel and the other half wanted to succeed from the small hats like Turkey, which Turkey and Israel is in talks of conflicting at this present time, man, due to, the difference of where they are running this world and the difference of global leaderships and systems that's set up. These Edomites are completely divided on all sides, man, and it's a beautiful thing. It says world leaders in New York for UN General Assembly 2025, which is nothing but a shit show. All right. But anyway, it says because Trump was basically bashing them on the borders. And matter of fact, it was a quote that Trump had left on his tweet talking about you have to control the borders, border control. And this is why your countries are going to hell. All right, but it says UK Prime Minister advances digital ID initiative to tackle illegal immigration. It says, but in a move that can help reshape how Britons and legal residents access public services, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to unveil ambitious plans for a nationwide digital identification system. So there you go, the RFID chip. So this is a global phenomenon that they're talking about implementing as a whole because of the New World Order. Okay, so you got the UK, you got France, you got Switzerland, you got Esau's different European allies that's on board to receive this technology. And some of them already have it. But then you got America, which, they can go through a massing chipping campaign. And this whole world can literally be chipped in a matter of months. All right, because you got several countries that already have citizens that's microchipped. But it says a nationwide digital identification system. It says, according to the recent report, the initiative from a key pillar of broader reform aimed at modernizing the UK's strained asylum and immigration framework. And remember, back in 2016, Trump was talking about a national tracking visa system, which is set to target so-called illegals or migrants. But it says, according to the announcement of the slated for Starmer's Labour Party conference later this month, signaling the government's determination to leverage technology amid escalating political pressures. It says the Financial Times first broke the story on September 19th, 2025, detailing how the digital ID scheme will potentially extend to all individuals legally entitled to reside in Britain, encompassing both citizens and those with valid immigration status. So, bam, it's in talks now. They're forming the mark of the beast because I believe in Europe they call it the NFC, which stands for near field communication, near field communication, which I believe they get it in a left hand if I'm not mistaken, but it's the same concept. It says these digital IDs could streamline everyday's process such as employment verification, there you go, and rental agreements, reducing bureaucratic hurdles and enhancing efficiency. However, sources close to discussions emphasize that the proposal remains in flux, with details and timelines subjected to revision. But it says two individuals briefed on the matter highlighted the exploratory nature of the plan, noting that while the scope might be initially be broad, the government could opt to narrow its focus to pivot entirely based on feasible studies at stakeholders' input. But this cautious approach underscores that the complexities of implementing a system, and they already got the technology for it. It's just a matter of creating the right crisis. But it says a system that touches on privacy, security, equity issues have long, dogged similar tech-driven reforms. But it says immigration and asylum policy continued to dominate Britain's political landscape, exacerbated by record numbers of migrants achieving via small boats across the English Channel. See, so they're blaming on the migrants now, all right? And that's a big thing here in America. Let's blame the migrants for all the crime. So therefore, we can have a reason to put these draconian measures in place, because eventually things will get draconian, as we're already seeing that they're shaping up to be, you know? But anyway, it says the influx has not only overwhelmed border resources, but have also intensified the challenges of housing tens of thousands of asylum seekers in temporary accommodations, concentration camps. It says Starmer's administration, which came to power in July 24, has prioritized these issues, scraping the previous conservative government controversial Rwanda deportation scheme while promising a more humane and effective alternative. But the digital ID push aligns with existing digital infrastructure in the UK, such as e-visas for international travelers. There you go. For those of you who want to travel abroad, or you want to go from here to there, and widely used NHS app for healthcare access. But by building on these foundations, the government aims to create seamless ecosystem that facilitates service delivery without compromising safeguards. But in response to inquiries from routers, a government spokesperson affirmed the administration's openness to innovative solutions, stating, we will look at any serious proposals that will help people access the public service, including digital ID. It says this email comment reflects the pragmatic stance, emphasizing its technology's role in empowering users rather than imposing new mandates. Critics, however, may raise concerns about the data privacy and the risk of exclusion for those without digital literacy or access. But proponents argue that a well-designed system could alleviate some of the administrative burdens that currently bog down the immigration process, allowing caseworkers to focus on high-priority cases. So basically, they saying they want to chip. They want to chip people, man. It's lucky, long day. But that's the result of it. Like this whole real ID shit, which is required for you to get on an airplane. And this is just an example of it. But everything is getting ready to be under social credit score as well. You see? So you go here. I'm going to try to fast forward it to when Trump was speaking. I can't really pinpoint on when he made a mention, but he was going into the borders and so forth, man. Because Trump is all for this system and for the MOTB and for the chipping of the citizens, man, because he mentioned it during his first term in a roundabout way. I feel that that warning shot, like I always like to mention, that warning shot when they allegedly tried to assassinate him, I believe that was just a shot to play ball and to stay in tune, okay? Because, this is the time now that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is getting ready to set up the kingdom of heaven on a planet Earth, man. So, yeah, we in those times. But anyway, a couple of precepts. Wasn't going to be a long lesson, but this is the book of Job 21. And I'm going to start at verses... that's a good one, though. Let's start at verses 20, and I'm going to start at verses 4. And it reads, and it says, knowest thou this of old, that since man was placed on the earth, that the triumphant of the wicked is short, and enjoy the hypocrite but for a moment, right? And that's talking about these devils. Okay, their reign is getting ready to end, and this is why the scriptures goes into their bounds cannot go beyond their bounds cannot reach beyond their measure, meaning that they are set up at an appointed time, appointed day, an appointed hour to go down, which is all set in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai's timing. Okay, and it reads, and it says that the triumphant of the wicked is short, and that the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. So, he's going to go all out, because this is the last hurrah for Esau. Okay, like the scriptures say, he's going to declare war on the saints. Esau has declared war on the tribes, man. And that's what all this immigration shit is all about, man, at the end of the day, because he understands that if he can get at least the Israelites micro C-hip, then ultimately, that's a goal accomplished, because he understands that the Lord has sole ownership of his people, man. Okay, we belong to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, not Esau, not the other nations. Okay, but it says here, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reaching into the clouds, yet he should perish forever like his own dung, and they which have seen him shall say, where is he? Okay, because eventually, like I mentioned, the Most High is going to get rid of Esau, and finally do an end to this man's kingdom, man. So we can get our kingdom because, you had this group called We Got Next. Well, that's a true statement. All right. But prior to that, Esau is not going to go down without a fight. He's not going to go down without any type of conflict. Okay. Because that's in his devil's nature is war. So there's going to be mass confusion. There's going to be mass chaos. And a lot of people going to run down there and take that MOTB because they ain't going to have no other choice because their selections are going to be grim. Like right now, the cutting of DEI and all these Medicaid, Medicare programs and, Social Security programs, cutting of food stamps and public aid, all that is set up to push people into the corner. So therefore, when these systems are implemented and they can say, well, look, we got the emergency funding or however they're going to say it now, if you want to stay in tandem with the system and you want to receive your benefits and, your $1,500 credits a month, then it's safe to say that you people need to opt into this system. And most people going to take it because they miss the benefactors or the benefits of this wicked world, man. Okay. And it says here, yet he should perish forever like his own dung. And they which have seen him to say, where is he? So he's just getting ready to be taken out. All right. This is the book of Job 18:5. It says, yea, the light of the wicked should be put out, and the spark of his fire should not shine, and the light should be dark in his tabernacle, and the candle should be put out with him. Okay, going into his kingdom, his new world order. His new world order is not going to come to full fruition because the Most High is going to stop it. Like right now, we're seeing a sloppy attempt of them setting up this digital system. Okay, one I know, for example, being Stargate, which is pretty much the creme de la creme. Matter of fact, let's look up Stargate. And Google is really not a good source anymore because, everything is so censored. It's censored, you know what I'm saying? It's very censored and you can't really find particular information. You got to really dig for it. This is how we know that we're coming into the time now that they're shutting things down. But it says in January 25, it says tech companies, including OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, which basically just took over TikTok, which is part of that $500 budget. It says, and others announced a new joint venture called Stargate Project, which a planned investment of $500 billion to develop artificial intelligence infrastructure in the United States. So let that be the tale. Okay, why did they need $500 billion to put in AI if they wasn't talking about tracking everybody through AI, man? Okay, because with these systems in place, you don't even have the manpower as far as the human presence to detect these things. Because I heard up to 5 to 6 people can run a fucking 45,000 square foot data center, man, because it pretty much compute itself. You see, which is all part of Esau's sorcery. But this is the book of Job 5, and I'm gonna start at verses 12. It says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, man. And then when you look up the dollar bill, what does the symbol on the dollar mean? Novos ordo seclum. Let our enterprise, people interpret it different ways. But let's go, as a matter of fact, let's do this real quick. Where we at? What is the Latin meaning behind the dollar bill in conspiracy terms? You gotta label it a certain way. Spirit terms, and see what she tells us. Bingo. It says conspiracy circles, the Latin phrase and symbols on the US dollar bill are often interpreted as evidence as hidden agendas, because the dollar is really a talisman. Okay, it's a talisman. That's why I have all the different symbols on it. But it says are often interpreted as evidence of hidden agendas, typically tied to secret societies like Illuminati or Freemasons. It says the most cited Latin phrases are found on the Great Seal of the United States, printed on the back of the $1 bill. It says, Annuicoeptus, which this phrase above the pyramid and I translate to he or province. He has favored our undertakings. Who is he? Or has favored our undertakings. When you think of undertaker, you think of like death. It says in conspiracy theories, it's often claimed to signify divine or occult approval of the secretive elite's plans, with he interpreted it as a Masonic or Illuminati deity rather than a traditional God, because they don't believe in the Most High. They know he exists, but they don't acknowledge him. Karl Marx admitted that. It says some links to the idea of a globalist agenda blessed by hidden forces. So Annuicoeptus means he basically favored our undertakings, which is Satan. Novus Ordo Seclorum, below the pyramid. This translated to New Order of the Ages, New World Order. Conspiracy theorists frequently misinterpret it as New World Order, as a term associated with the supposed global conspiracy to establish a totalitarian government. But didn't Cotton Swab mention that a couple years ago? He said it ain't going back to post 2020 or pre 2020. He said this is the new way, and through violence, and he said it's going to be an angrier world, cyber attacks, all types of shit. So in order to get that under control, they're going to have to engineer some type of manufacture some type of crisis that's going to shake people into submission, man. You know, and this is why we need the Most High to be in our corner, because things are going to get real sticky and real gritty real soon, to the point we're going to be back against the wall and we ain't going to have nothing but the Holy Spirit and the Spirit of the Lord on our side, if you believe that. So now is the time to really lock in and really get focused, man. You know, not all this gang banging and all this other trying to be the biggest camp ordeal. Nah, man, we got a mission here. But it says a term associated with the supposed global conspiracy to establish a totalitarian government. It says they argue and hints at a deliberate plan by the elites to reshape society under their control, often tying it to Freemasonry or the Illuminati. It says the meaning, it says out of many one, this phrase on the dollar's front refers to unity of states, but in conspiracy context is sometimes spun as evidence of a push towards a global unification. Bro, Bush said that. Big Bush, Father Bush. Obama mentioned it, man. You know, all these technocrats are mentioned in a New World Order. Erasing national sovereignty to create single control world government. They said a universal religion, universal income. What you think that mean? You know? So yeah, this is the plan of the elites. It says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, and he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. Okay, yeah, because, you know, it's not even being hidden anymore. To the point, you know, you got whistleblowers coming out and they outing these people. And some of them even coming up missing, like this whole CK thing. Yeah, you got a lot of different theories out there about what it means and who's behind it and hologram activity, if it was really him or not. Look, we don't know, but we do know that we in a time now of mass psychological operations, which look up the term PSYOP, and it's going to have the military and government writ all on it, because it's to sway the opinion and the thinking and the narrative of the average person. So therefore, certain narratives can be pushed and accepted as religion or law. And it reads, it says, and they meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in noonday as in the night, but he saved the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. Yep. And that sword is going to come down heavy to establish this one world government, man. You know? Let's go to the book of Psalms 10. Because this is nothing but a device. It says, for the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covenants whom the Lord upholdeth. But the wicked through his... matter of fact, too, it says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices which they have imagined. So you're going to fall upon your own snare, man. Verse 4, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. For the Most High is not in all his thoughts, and it proves that because he wouldn't be trying to micro-C-hip everybody. It says his ways are always grievous. Yeah, you need a fucking chip or a national ID in order to go across seas, or in order to fly domestically to Vegas. You got to have something implanted in you, or you got to have somebody real-time surveying you, man, just to go and hit a couple of slots and drink a couple of mimosas or whatever the hell you want to call it and gamble and make some money. You got to have somebody on your heels about that. You know, and ultimately it's because Esau, he wants control. You know, it says, and his ways are always grievous, Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He's like, what they gonna do? And he's really talking about the Israelites and the Most High, man. And it says, and he said in his heart, I should not be moved, for I should never be in adversity. And that's the reason why they're going full throttle with this, man. Because somewhere in their mind, they believe they're going to be successful, though subconsciously they know they're not. Revelation 6:1, it says, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of the Most High upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which have received the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship the image. Okay, so you opt into this system, then you're going to get the judgment. Okay, because see, we want to be part of Revelation 15:2. We want to be part of Revelation 14. Those that the Lamb and 144,000 on Mount Zion, man. All right, this is why I keep telling you that those they did not, they wasn't defiled with this world's philosophies. Because peep this, Revelation 14, and I'm gonna start at verses 9. It says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive this mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same should drink of the wine of the wrath, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, which is those missiles and the chariots. And he should be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Okay, and that's the point, which proves this is not talking about an actual place in hell, because according to the Christian theology, hell is a place where you're separated from the Most High completely. There's no reaching him from the depths of hell. You're separated totally. You're out of you're out of the scopeo of the Most High now. You with Satan, according to Christians. But here it says, in the presence of the holy angels and the Lamb. Why? Because that fire is going to take place right here in Babylon. Okay, as the chariots are delivering the hopeful elect, which Lord's will I'm part of. And you brothers out there, you few sisters, the chariots delivering us. You're going to have missiles being shot out simultaneously, and you're going to have chariots that's firing laser beams on this place, man. In the presence of the Lamb and the holy angels, because that's in his presence. He's going to be here. All right. So anyway, quick lesson. All praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Lord's will you edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.